Let's be honest, when Nigerians hear electoral reform, one question comes to mind. Will this actually protect our votes or just change the rules again? Because this week, the Senate passed a new Electoral Act Amendment Bill, and what's inside it is already causing serious debate. As of February 4th, 2026, reports indicate that the Nigerian Senate passed the Electoral Act 2022 Amendment Bill 2026 after more than 5 hours of debate.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to repeal the Electoral Act number 13 of 2022 and to enact the Electoral Bill 2026 to regulate the conduct of federal and state elections and also area council elections in the Federal Capital Territory, and for related matters, 2026, third reading taken and passed.
This bill is meant to prepare Nigeria for the 2027 general elections. Supporters say the changes are about being realistic. They argue that Nigeria has areas with poor network, security issues, and logistics problems. So instead of forcing one method, the law gives INEC the power to decide how results are sent. On electronic transmission of results, the Senate says it did not remove it. They say it simply retained the 2022 position, allowing INEC to choose the method. This position was defended in Senate briefings and interviews, including this Channels TV report on the bill's passage.
During the clause-by-clause consideration, the upper chamber did not adopt the recommendation on real-time transmission of election results.
Transmission, we should retain what is in the existing or extant law, which is transfer.
I second. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
However, the Senate President attempts to give an explanation.
This Senate, under my watch, has not rejected electronic transmission of results. It's in my interest as a participant in the next election for such to be done. So please don't go with the crowd. Don't go with the crowd. We have retained what was in the previous provision.
Supporters also point to other changes such as stronger punishment for vote buying, jail terms and higher fines for election crimes, keeping BVAS and PVCs for voter verification, and clear rules for party primaries. From their point of view, this is about balance, not going too fast, not going too slow. From an Ivory News point of view, it's true that Nigeria's elections face real challenges. Network issues are real, logistics problems are real. Giving INEC flexibility can help in difficult areas. But flexibility only works when there is trust, and that trust is already fragile. Now to the other side. Civil society groups, opposition figures, and many Nigerians say this bill moves the country backwards. Their biggest issue is simple. The bill refused to make electronic transmission mandatory. Critics argue that once e-transmission is optional, it becomes weak.
I think what the Senate has done by this act is to betray the trust of Nigerians. And not just betray the trust of Nigerians, is to make rubbish of all the gains that we've made. Because what happened today is a regression and a dangerous retreat to some of the lofty reforms that were introduced by the 2022 Electoral Act. The Senate President, I completely disagree with the Senate President. He's just being clever by half. Because what he is saying is that the ruling of the Supreme Court in the 2023 elections, they were very clear that electronic collation or transmission was unknown to the law, that INEC cannot, by virtue of its guidelines, introduce electronic transmission, and the IREF, it's clear. And so what the National Assembly did, particularly the two committees in the National Assembly, was to take that judicial pronouncement and update the law, because when the extant law says it shall be by a procedure determined by INEC, INEC went ahead in its guideline, determined the procedure, but the court now said, no, you have to insert it in the law. And the report before them, because I was part of the technical committee that was part of this entire process, what the House passed was that electronic transmission will be part of this process. In fact, The report also mentions the IREV. So I think that the Senate president is lying to Nigerians because that's not what was provided in the report. It was clear, electronic transmission of results.
There are also concerns about timing. The bill reduced the notice period for elections from 360 days to 180 days. Some groups say that gives too little time for preparation and public scrutiny. Another flashpoint is dispute resolution. Changes to tribunal powers mean fewer situations where tribunals can declare winners directly. Critics fear this could delay justice after elections.
One of the things that the Senate has also done is introduce some draconian provisions that will undermine the preparations for the 2023 election, especially logistics. What they have done, they've compressed the time frame. The reason why the 2022 Electoral Act provides that 360 days issue notice, campaign conduct of primaries, was to allow for logistics. What they have done now is to say that primaries will hold, about 90 days, and then INEC will publish the list of candidates 60 days to elections. For heaven's sake, when is INEC going to produce the ballot papers? And so we're going to run into a lot of logistical challenges, for the 2027 elections. If you look at one of the things the bill also does, and the place of the report, is that it makes it compulsory for presiding officers to compare results transmitted electronically and the ones collected manually. Yeah. What they have now done is to jettison that particular provision. So you cannot say that you did a thorough job. If this is the outcome of a thorough job, then I think that the Senate owes Nigerians a lot of apologies.
These concerns were strongly raised by civil society groups, as seen in this Arise News discussion.
I think what is important to point out here is that the National Assembly set up the joint committees of the Senate and House. These two committees, members were exceedingly very devoted from the Senate, from the House, holding retreats, holding meetings, holding consultations with civil society. And the joint document that came out was to the satisfaction of everyone. The House of Representatives proceeded to pass what was agreed by the joint committee by and large, and it was waiting for the Senate to come to terms with the timing because everybody felt that there was an urgency to the Electoral Act. The Senate delayed making the House because it was supposed to be that both chambers were supposed to pass this on the same day and subsequently harmonize and send to the President for assent because of the urgency of it. The Senate did not do what it should do, or the Senate leadership did not bring this issue into discussion. It kept adjourning and adjourning.
From an Ivory News point of view, these fears are now out of place. Election laws must be very clear, because once voting ends, every unclear line becomes a court case. If people don't believe results are protected from the polling unit, confidence drops fast. Now let's hear Nigerians themselves. On X, reactions have been strong. One post calls it a huge setback and disappointment for Nigerians. Another highlights hypocrisy and demands transparency. This one accuses the Senate of enabling rigging. Different voices, same concern. This debate is not really about software or servers. It's about confidence. The Electoral Act Amendment Bill may improve some parts of Nigeria's election system. Stronger penalties, clearer party rules, more flexibility for INEC. But by refusing to make electronic transmission compulsory, the bill has reopened old wounds. As the House and Senate harmonize the bill and it heads to the President, Nigerians are watching closely. Because in 2027, people won't just vote, they'll be judging whether the system deserves their trust. What's your take? Should electronic transmission be compulsory, no exceptions? Or should INEC have the final say? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like this video if it helped you understand the issue clearly. Subscribe to Ivory News for calm, honest breakdowns.